Today on Bricklas, just in time for the best day of the year, I'm giving you the gift of a unique expansion to the 76269. Have fun, guys! The new Avengers tower, which is available since November 24th, has been received mainly positive. Not only is it the largest marble set in terms of total pieces and its actual size, but it also stands a whopping 90 centimeters or 35.3 inches tall. Of course, the 31 included minifigures also deserve a mention, including Hulk, Dummy and a really good Vision figure. The only issue I have with the set is that in the MCU, the Avengers tower was built on top of the MetLife building. This was left out of the original LEGO model due to it already being very expensive. The mock designer Dreambuildbricks, who has already created some wonderful mocks over the years, has now set himself the task of expanding the tower with the Grand Central Station, the Armor Hall and Workshop of Tony Stark, as well as the Stark Industries Arc Reactor Room, and he had also created his own model of the Avengers Tower a while ago, which is very reminiscent of that of LEGO. For the expansion you need these 4 older Marvel sets that are now end of life, including the Avengers Tower in a smaller format, the Compound Battle, Iron Man's Workshop, this small expansion here, and another 1107 extra pieces, as well as the instructions, which cost another $8 US. And yes, I know it sounds expensive at first, and I agree with you. It is, because I paid about $350 US for all the extra pieces, but when it comes to sacrificing my wallet for the general good, I'm happy to sign in. When you're done with the expansion, you will build the 76269 on the roof of Tony Stark's workshop instead of on the base plate from the LEGO instructions. But I'll show you that in more detail after we've finished building the new expansion. Now that we've got that out of the way, I finally want to start building the Grand Central Station and the other new rooms. I want to mention that even though I bought all the extra bricks and sets according to the mock designer's instructions, a lot of parts were missing, which I personally found very unfortunate, as the mock itself looks beautiful and it made building it a lot more difficult. Because of this, there will be some color differences in the presentation of the mock, because I had to use parts from my own collection. Before building, please sort all parts of the 4 sets as well as the extra parts by colors, so building it becomes a lot easier. But now it's really time to start building. The mock is divided into 2 halves. Each of the 2 parts takes up 1 base plate. The instructions start with the Grand Central Station and the Stark Industries Arc Reactor Room. For this, the base plate is covered with various tiles. On the floor at the place where the entrance to the Arc Reactor Room will later be built, a checkerboard pattern is constructed from white and black 1x1 tiles. We are also building the foundation of the Grand Central Station. While we're building the outer walls of the station, we're adding small details to the mock, such as this newspaper that we're placing on the floor next to it. Next, windows are integrated into the foundation, which are offset with nice red window screens. To create a nice curve, these 2 identical round elements have been built at the corners. When we have finished building the foundation of the first floor, we turn back to the front part of the building, where details are placed again, including a crate on which bottles and cups have been placed. Then we continue in front of the entrance, where something that resembles a coffee shop will be placed, including a collection of tables that are also equipped with food, several chairs and 2 parasols that we can now build. We are now asked to build a nice passageway with these arch parts on which a bridge will later be built. The designer has integrated a custom Stan Lee minifigure into the building as an Easter egg, which I unfortunately didn't take over. I used this little fuck with a slingshot instead. Now we build the Avengers Memorial, where we use the sticker from the 76269. This is placed directly under the bridge. We continue with these 2 benches, followed by the completion of the bridge, On the one hand with tiles which are placed on the studs and then above a lot of plates to make the bridge more stable. Now we turn the whole thing around and start with the inside of the lower floor. This is the arc reactor room of Stark Industries. Here we built a platform in the middle on which the arc reactor will be placed. Next to it we place a lot of details, such as this table on which an infinity stone is examined, and a television with a controller and 2 rotating chairs. Now the arc reactor is placed on the platform and we are finished with the interior. Now we place a garbage can, a hydrant, and the 4 identical railings of the stairs, as well as 2 street lamps and 2 flower boxes around the building. Now that the entire lower area is complete, we turn our attention to the actual Grand Central Station. For this we built a base that forms the basic shape of the station. This is nicely decorated with railings and tiles. It was a little difficult to build as it was only held up by these round parts, but it looks really good when the building is then raised on the space using a lot of different tan-colored bricks. The next part is pretty monotonous, but it was a lot of fun to build. The same thing for both sides, only always mirror inverted. The outer walls are decorated with a lot of these grid pieces. We use a total of 136 throughout. When the foundation is in place and we have attached all the pillars, arches and other bricks to the foundation of the Grand Central Station, we turn the building around and build the famous clock, which we then place in the middle of the base. We then continue with the cladding as we raise the building a little higher to create the indentation for the roof and complete the final details to the monument. A minifigure is then added to the front, but more on that in the overview later on. And then in the inner area 2 US flags that we hang on the walls. We finally reached the roof. There's not much to say about it. It's been built very solidly and can be inserted into the previously constructed opening. So now we are finished with the first part of the expansion. Before we take a closer look at it, let's quickly build the second part. Let's continue with the second part. The same game applies. We need a base plate. This is unfortunately green colored because I didn't have any more gray ones available. Furthermore, there are some color deviations on the floor structure, as I have already mentioned before that unfortunately not all parts were delivered. The floor structure that we are building here serves as a small indicator for the fixtures that we will place on it. After the ground structure is finished, we built the armor stands, exactly 14 of them. I didn't record building all 14 individually, so the section is a little sped up. When we have all 14 stands ready, we stick them on and next to each other and then place the construct on the indicator of the base plate. Now that the structure is in place, it still needs to be fixed. So we build a support structure around the outside that serves both as the facade of the building and as a support. Now we build some windows and grey colored column elements inside the support structure and thus complete the building. Then we build a spooky technical construction that will later be placed on the roof. This is then attached to the roof with some bricks and plates. When we are finished with this part, we quickly build a small floor structure with the help of tiles in front of the building. We immediately continue with the interior of the workshop. We place some tools and weapons on the wall, and we continue by building a rotating podium, which is to be placed in the center on its predetermined place marked on the floor. As further small extras, we then build a small table for the left side on which we place a miniature version of Iron Man, and on the right a table with 4 modern screens. Of course, the workshop would be incomplete without Dummy, which we built next. Since the building is still open, we still have to build a shutter. It consists out of a few windows and 2 doors at the entrance, which we attach to each other once we are done. We simply integrate the shutter to the rest of the building and decorate the top with tiles and this Technic square. A garbage can and a box are then placed in front of the door. And the last thing missing now is the roof, which is built in the same shape as the top of the building. Here we then build the floor structure with white tiles. This is the same step as in the Avengers tower set, which will be built on top of it afterwards. That's it so far with the construction of the second part. Now let's take a closer look at the 2 buildings. Let's start with the Grand Central Station. It starts at the front with the memorial. This was taken over exactly as in the original set, and in my opinion is very nicely integrated into the new structure. It is located in a small opening under the bridge. Behind it is a small square that was intended as a small tribute to Stan Lee. I have placed a small newspaper boy here instead of Stan Lee. To the left and right of this we find an identical brown bench, followed on both the left and right by a street lamp and a fire hydrant. Behind the stairs, to which we will come to in a moment, there's a kind of cafe, even if the cafe itself is missing. The seats with umbrellas, drinks and food as well as a small waiter's table are present and fit very well into the event. To the left, around the corner, there's a small garbage can and a flower box on both sides. On one side, instead of the garbage can, you will find a newspaper, which according to the instructions can be any. But the designer himself recommended the Daily Bugle. Now let's take a look at the stairs that lead up to the Grand Central Station. They are both built completely identically. They each have 2 railings and are tiled from the bottom to top. The stairs lead to a crossing or bridge that leads to the Grand Central Station. The 10 colors are just too striking and hard to miss. It looks really impressive. It consists out of different column elements and is heaped with details. It is built completely the same on both sides. Above we find a clock and as you can see there's a figure. The designer intended it to be a monotonous 10 colored figure, which was simply too expensive for me at almost $10 US. So I simply replaced it with the Christmas Ewok from the Star Wars Advent Calendar, because it just fits so well. The roof is designed in a sandy green color and has a great color chemistry with the 10 parts. The roof is easy to remove and conceals the inner workings of the station. These consists out of the famous clock, which really lives up to its original counterpart, and 2 US flags hanging from the sides of the wall. For the space available, the interior is really coherent. Now let's take a look at the part underneath, the Stark Industries arc reactor room. If we take off the Grand Central Station, which is quite easy as it is almost placed loosely on the structure, we get a better overview of the next room. In the center is the arc reactor on a larger platform. To the left of it we find a small seating area with rotating chairs, a screen and a controller. On the right side there's a table for the purpose of researching the Infinity Stones. That's it for the first part of the expansion. Now let's take a look at the second part together. This looks like the MetLife building on which the Avengers tower was built and houses Tony Stark's workshop. From the outside it looks a bit unimpressive, but in my opinion very refreshing, as we've hardly ever seen a modern modular building in LEGO form before. It is surrounded by windows and has an interesting shape. At the back we find 2 doors, but if we open them we won't get far, because behind them is part of the foundation. If we turn the building around, the whole thing looks a little more colorful. I personally really like the look of the front. The white look of the beams in combination with the windows and the Avengers logo are really fitting. At the front we find a garbage can that was taken from the Avengers tower set, and a box as well as the pager from Captain Marvel. If we want to enter the workshop now, there are two ways to do so. One is through the front doors, or simply by pulling the left side a little forward, because it is not attached to the rest of the building, but only pushed into the gap. Be careful before opening it, you must first remove the trash can and the crate. And now, enjoy the inside view. To the left and right of the workshop's pillars are a lot of tools, utensils and weapons. The highlight, however, is a collection of research instruments, including this small table that houses a prototype of Iron Man, or this desk with 4 screens and a keyboard. In the center of the workshop is the podium with 2 movable robot arms, on which we can place an Iron Man suit of our choice. And even rotate it 360 degrees. We also got a nice dummy figure, which of course should not be missing in the workshop. Behind all the technical stuff, there's a place for Tony Stark's armor. This is one of the coolest features of any expansions I've introduced so far. It fits a total of 14 suits of armor. On the roof of the workshop there's an area covered with white tiles. Some of you may already know that this is the point where we start building the Avengers tower. I'll show you that in a moment, but first I'll show you how to connect the 2 modules together by sliding the Grand Central Station to the back of the workshop and then connecting it with one of these 1x2 grid parts on each side. It looks really nice already. Now we come to the building of the tower. When you have reached bag 38 in the building instructions, the mock designer recommends that you make a small adjustment to the 2 Avenger logos, which are then placed on the outside after completion. Together with the expansion, the tower is a proud 43 inches high and doesn't even completely fit into the frame. So please forgive me for the peek behind the scenes, cause now I invite you to enjoy the following pictures. Despite the initial difficulties with the parts, which really bothered me, I have to say that I've really grown fond of this expansion. The Avengers tower just doesn't look complete without it anymore. I just love the attention to detail and the lovingly designed rooms. I think the feature with Iron Man's armor stands inside the workshop is so well done, and I'm really glad that I picked this mock up. Greetings go out to the mock designer Dreambuildbricks, and I advise you that if you like the mock, that you check out his creations. He has many more stunning creations. I linked the mock as always in the description. I'm curious what you think of the mock and if you like it, despite the proud price of about $800 US. Let me know in the comments. That's it today on Bricklas. Take care guys, enjoy the holidays with your loved ones, have a good new year, leave a like and a subscription if you like my work. Every support benefits me and I'm out for now. See you next year, bye guys.